throw it open for questions.
Thanks, Tony. Hey, I just wanted to just make a quick comment, before I open it up to questions, just that I know a lot goes around in this profession, in the media, and I just want to say that I am so excited to be here and be Kentucky's defensive coordinator. And Kentucky's home, Kentucky's family, myself, my wife, my kids, we feel one with Big Blue Nation. And to me, that is more than anything. And so really want to thank Big Blue Nation for their comments and their outpouring of support, that we received sort of over the last week, and really excited just to continue to build with Coach Stoops and, be a part of this program, and hopefully can be a part for a long time. So with that, open up to any questions, and obviously looking forward to get down to Orlando.
All right, Coach, thank you. We'll start with Josh Moore. Go ahead, Josh.
Hey, Brad, we see John go and take the head coaching job, and I know that's something that kind of gets thrown around with you a little bit. I guess what makes it, staying in Kentucky and being in Kentucky, beyond the family thing, kind of make the most sense right now for you? I guess kind of what makes this such an attractive spot?
You know what? Also, I'll answer this one, Josh, and would like to just sort of keep it ball related in that regard. But again, sort of tied into the statement, and is the fact that we are doing special things here, and I'm excited to be a part of that. The signing class that we just signed, with what we've got coming in on defense, what we already have that we've done from the past classes, what we've been able to supplement, in the portal. With character young men, the future is really, really bright, and just really excited to continue to push that. And it's not without challenges. Everything has challenges, but when you know that a head coach has your back, when an administration has your back, when a fan base has your back, you can push through any challenge. And to know that gives, a coach in any profession, gives a person great comfort. And I think that's what life's about. It's about having a support system. And that's what family's about. And since we've moved here 4 years ago, that's what we recognize at this university, this state, the support system that they provide. It's unlike any place we've ever been. And we're blessed to be a part of this community, the way that this community's embraced us. And there's no monetary value that you can put on that.
John Hale.
Brian, we talked a lot about JJ this year and everything he came back from. I guess looking at the season, or the regular season at least, as a whole, how kind of remarkable was it what he was able to do, given he was pretty well short of a year from that injury for the most part?
Yeah, John, remarkable is probably a pretty spot on word to lead the team in sacks, to lead the team in interceptions, to have to deal with the adversity that he's dealt with over the last 18 months, which just one event can really cause a lot of disruption in a person's life. And for him to go with multiple, sort of stacked on top of each other, the fact that his resilience, his toughness, his grit, his ability to open up and seek help in different places and to be vulnerable, shows the kind of human being he is, shows his true toughness, his grit, and really just, it's an amazing story. And the awesome part about it too is that it's just the beginning of the book. It's you're still only a couple of chapters in, and it's like one of those great stories that you've got the teaser in the beginning and you can't wait to read the rest. Well, I can't wait to see the rest of his book because there's a lot of great chapters still ahead, and looking forward to being a part of some of them, and then watching down the road, watching him continue to take off, both on the football field but off it. Like, he's going to continue to do great things off the field, and he's just such a great young man. He comes from a great family, and it goes back to what we talked about here about 5 minutes ago, and it comes back to support system, and it comes back from the Big Blue Nation, and this university and how they supported JJ. And so those things in life are the most important.
Big Crouch.
Recruiting questions. First, you signed a player from Delaware. I don't know how many guys from Delaware have been to Kentucky, but what's it like recruiting up there, and what did you get in a guy like Jamil?
Now, hey, let's be easy. You remember, I'm from Rhode Island, so you're going to get, now Delaware's a little bit bigger than Rhode Island, and you guys make it sound like up in the Northeast, it's like you got to take a spaceship up there. I mean, it's only a 50-minute, car ride to Philly, and you got a direct flight into Lexington. They're here in a snap. But no, there's been some good players that have come out of his school. Chris Godwin was a Middletown high school graduate, and won a Super Bowl last year, and they've, their starting quarterback's actually going down to South Carolina. So that's going to be a good internal rivalry, to have teammates, both in the SEC East competing every year against each other. So one being a quarterback, one being a defensive end rushing them. So, there'll be some really good games and rivalries going there. But no, Tommy Waugh's been phenomenal in terms of his ability to research universities. This was not a off the cuff or just on a whim pick for him. He did due diligence more than maybe anybody I've ever seen in terms of his knowledge of each and every university that he was looking at, both the academic side, the football side, the players that have gone through. And so we're really excited to get him in, and going.
And as far as your guys that you help bring in your position group, Tyrese and Keaton, what do you like about their games, and kind of what do you foresee in their future?
Well, it's interesting. They're very complementary to each other, where I think Keaton right now is arguably as sort of outside linebacker ready from a coverage aspect that of any outside linebacker that I've recruited since I've been here. He did that quite a bit in high school, and so even when we had him out in camp this summer, he picks up those little nuances of what we do in coverage so quickly, and probably a little bit raw from a pass rush standpoint. I think he's just got real natural ability, so it'll come easy. But from just a pure pass rush standpoint, there'll be a lot of learning in that regard. He was just so strong and physical and twitchy. When he rushed the passer this year, he just sort of out-athleted those tackles. And in this league, you're going to have to combine sort of the technique with that athleticism. So we'll get there, but he'll walk in and understand, what we're going to ask him from a coverage aspect. Tyrese probably a little bit on the flip side, where he'll be a little bit more technically proficient from a pass rush standpoint, but far more raw from when we ask those guys to drop in coverage and do different aspects of our defense. But that's great. They're going to be able to feed off each other. They've communicated with each other. I hope you can hear it in my voice, like the excitement that I have to bring those two in together. Like the future is really, really bright there. And for them to learn from, a guy like JJ Weaver and, we'll see what else we have in that room, you know, come next fall. But, the future is bright, and I can see those guys coming in, and we'll see. You never want to put too much on anybody, but like a Trevin Wallace, where they're able to come in certain situations that they're comfortable with and be able to provide meaningful snaps.
Come on.
Brad, I want to give you a chance to brag on yourself. We've all heard a lot about how successful you've been in getting players and developing them while they're here at school. But the other big aspect of coaching are the X's and O's aspects. So how do you think you've developed as an X's and O coach? And specifically, how will that play into this upcoming bowl game with Iowa?
Yeah, I think everybody has a lot of growth, and I know I've grown significantly from when I first started coordinating in 19 to where I am now. And a lot of that comes with sort of experiences, good and bad. As far as the X's and O's piece, I think you have to continuously be learning in this landscape because offenses change so much. There's so many different variations of offenses. Sometimes it ebbs close to the NFL. Sometimes the NFL ebbs closer to college. The ebbs and flows and the way it moves, you got to kind of stay on your toes, and you got to face multiple offenses week in and week out. There's very little. It's not stagnant, and so I feel like I'm in a better situation. I don't. I try not to let anything rattle me too much. I try to be as calm as I can. I say that, and then in the very last game we had, I got my very first penalty. So everybody has a time to grow, and we always run as a defense for penalties. That following week, and so I lined up the defense, and they were all like, "What are we doing?" I was like, "Well, a lack of discipline by anybody, including a coaching staff member. We got to run our gassers." So they were all joshing with me, but I think that also came with the comfort level, and Coach and I have a good rapport, on game day to be able to bounce things back and forth, off each other and even through the week. And I think too, I've let go of the reins at times a little bit, where in my first couple of years you felt like you had to do everything. You've got to be able to delegate. We've got really, really good coaches on this staff, and I've learned that you got to let them do what they do best, and that's coach their position. And have a little bit more responsibility so that they can continue to grow within the profession and they can become coordinators or head coaches. And obviously, thrilled for John going down, and he's going to do a phenomenal job down there. Obviously, we, for me personally, hate losing him. He's one of my best friends in this, not just this profession, but on this planet. So, but I'm a Troy Trojan fan now, so I'll be watching their game. I never thought I'd be watching them closely, but now I'll watch them every time they're on TV, and we'll bounce ideas back and forth. And that's another way you grow. Hey, I saw you do this, and in this profession, that's what it's about. So appreciate you letting me ramble a little there.
Big Avery.
Brad, first of all, I have a cousin who lives in Rhode Island. She's her husband. They love it, so I'm looking forward to visit. I've never had a chance to visit yet, but they love it. We found out, obviously you did too, that Iowa's top running back was going to opt out. But of course, bowl season is riddled with stories of next man up and guys making a name for themselves when they get opportunities. What's the challenge for you preparing a defense against Iowa when they won't have that tendency give the ball to a certain running back?
Yeah, I mean, you take away 250 plus touches and over 1,100 yards rushing, but I think their identity will not change. Their identity stems from their head coach, and he's had so much success over the years. They're going to be who they are. Now, the thing with bowl games is you always have to be mindful of the unexpected in bowl games. And so that becomes one of the biggest challenges. And it's bowl games and it's the first game of the year. There's just so much that you don't know. And, you could say, hey, well, you have all season long. And so, yeah, that's what a team normally does, but they also have, 3 weeks to add wrinkles off those. So we've got to be really, really prepared for that. Obviously, something we don't see very much is that two-back run game. The fact that they play with a fullback, some of our guys, especially younger guys that came out of high school that have only seen spread off, they don't even know what a fullback is, so you got to coach them up on that. But so there's a challenge in that aspect, and it's nice that we've had, a couple of weeks to prepare. So, hopefully those fits are clean. And I know our guys are right now, they're really excited to get down there and go. Like the energy, the excitement, the juice in practice has been as high, as a high level as I've been around in my 4 years here in terms of what the practice pace, the speed. And so I think they're going to be ready to go.
Adam Luckett.
Greg, just that outside linebacker position, I know you'll have a limited number of scholarship players this year. You signed two, like you just said. Is that just kind of going to be a thing now moving forward, since I guess you're all moving towards more of that kind of that safety kind of medium spot?
No, you know what? I think we're much more focused on best players available. You want to get the best players into your system that you can, and maybe to a fault, I'm extremely picky about what comes in at outside linebacker because of what's required. We've talked sort of ad nauseum over the last several years, about guys that come in, and I'd say, hey, listen, it's going to take time, because there's a lot on their shoulders at that position. Again, the drop aspect, the edge setting, the pass rushing, there's a lot of components that you're trying to get built in there. So I want to make sure that there's sort of a standard that we bring in. The two freshmen, and when Tyrese and Keaton, that they far exceed that standard. And so, again, as we evaluate the landscape and what remains out there, there could always be a potential, that you add to that room. But, I feel comfortable where we are. And again, if we have to go sort of smaller out there to the field and medium, we can do that. I think we've signed some really good, DBs in this class. I think, and there's a couple of guys that could play out there too. A guy like Alex Safari, he could play sort of anywhere in that back end, including that medium. He's just so long and violent, and he's got snap on a finish. And so, that position provides us flexibility year in and year out. If we're heavy at outside linebacker, we can play more base. If we're heavier at DB, we can play more medium, so we can go in and out of that position.
Josh Moore.
Brad, going back to John and how he made his help and your friendship there, I know it's the biggest, the guy coming in to replace him, whoever they I guess what kind of trades are you looking for? I know it's hopefully Mark's call, but I would imagine you probably get, at least have some, maybe not say, but, at least offer advice and try to figure that out alongside him. I guess, I know he's went to the NFL ranks a lot, but I guess how do you see that working out?
You know what? That again, that's going to be more of a coach question. and we'll work through that when that time comes. Obviously, right now our focus is bowl game prep, and but leave that one up to coach, and if he comes and asks for insider advice or whatnot, obviously I'm sure we'll talk about it. But his track record in making hires, I think, sort of speaks for itself. So I will be very comfortable with whichever direction he decides to go.
All right, last question, Jeff Drum.
Brad, you were talking about Iowa and their identity earlier. I was wondering, watching on film and what you know of the personnel, how much of that identity stems from the center play and building around his talents?
Yeah, I mean, really a top-notch player. The way, a lot of people, they don't know what to look for in a center, but his ability to snap and step sort of at the same time to gain that advantage, before a D lineman, can put his hands on her, he can overtake a shade. It's really, really impressive, and he can get to the second level. He's strong enough to hold up. It'll be a really good challenge, for our defensive line. They've always been really well coached. Obviously, Coach Ferentz is a longtime offensive line coach, so that group always works in sync. You can tell there's sort of one heartbeat there, but it all stems, from that center position. And he's got some nasty in him too. Like he'll finish blocks and he'll get under your skin. So we've got to stay really composed in that regard. And so it's going to be a big challenge for us. I mean, they can run the football and they're going to try to impose their will. We need to try to, impose ours as much as we can. And it should be a good old school physical battle there in the trenches. And then when they try to, take their shots down the field and their boot game, we've got to do a great job in the back end. We've got to play with great eyes, and what we need to do is when the ball's in the air, we've got to go try to get it. We haven't created enough this year turnover wise. That's, one aspect that we did so well last year, and then this year, not as much. I know we fielded questions throughout the season about how do you change that. Sometimes the ball bounces your way, sometimes it doesn't, but we've had opportunities where the ball's in our hands. We got to be able to squeeze it and finish that play off. So now the one thing we have done is when we have intercepted it, we have, created points off it with 3 pick sixes. One of those in this kind of game would be a huge momentum shift. So we need to, create some of those plays. Obviously, the last time we were down in Orlando, my very first bowl game here, Big Blue showed out like I've never, seen at a bowl game. Really looking forward to seeing that happen again against another ranked Big Ten opponent, which would be just to give this program another chance at 10 wins, and continue to push, where we want to go. This is a huge game, and we're going to have to play really well defensively. They've got a great defense. They've been able to create a ton of turnovers. So we've got to be able to match it and, hopefully exceed it. That's our standard.
Coach, thank you for your time. We appreciate